they want to move off Drew Lock. They've called Atlanta, and they're going to move up, and they'd like to get a quarterback. Now, doesn't mean Atlanta's going to budge, but Denver likes Trey Lance, and they like Justin Fields, and they should. They're both better than Drew Lock. And it's funny about Drew Lock. I get this a lot from Denver fans. You loved him. I did for 5 games. I did. Josh Allen of the Bills and Drew Lock of the Broncos, through 18 games, and that's how many Drews played, are the exact same quarterback. Bad. But here's the difference. The more I saw of Josh Allen, the more I liked him. The more I saw of Drew Lock, the less I liked him. Why? Because Drew Lock is a movie trailer. If you just get the highlights of a comedy, all comedies are funny in the movie trailer. Will Ferrell's never had a bad movie trailer. But Will Ferrell's, about half his movies aren't that funny because all the funny stuff's in the trailer. And that's not a knock on Will Ferrell because he's had some unbelievable movies. Go watch Alf. It's really good. Old School, all that stuff or whatever. But Drew Lock's a movie trailer. His highlights are amazing because he's got a big arm. And he's athletic, pretty athletic. And he takes big swings and risks. And he improvises a lot. So if you watch his highlights or his movie trailer, it's like, whoo! But when you really watch his game, he's got really bad habits. Really loose. There's a little Jameis Winston, although I don't think he's that talented. Really loose, really casual, thinks his arm is better than it is, throws the ball up for grabs 5 times a game, just throws it down the field. And by the way, so when did I like him? Well, at the end of 2019, the last 5 games of the year, he goes 4-1. And I said on the air multiple times, Joy is my witness, there's something there. I kept saying, there's something there, I like him. But Denver wasn't good. I wasn't watching the entire game. I was getting the movie trailer. I was getting his highlights. And he's got an arm. And he can move. But Pro Football Focus watched all 5 of those games, every snap. And they graded him with a 58, which is Tebow level. He was terrible. So if you watch the movie, instead of just watching the trailer to comedies, that's why there have been so few great comedies made. There's been a million great trailers for comedies. Every Will Ferrell trailer is hysterical. Jackie Moon was hysterical. Had about 9 good minutes of movie. But the trailer was unbelievable. And what Drew Lock is, he's the anti-Derek Carr of the Raiders. If you watch Derek Carr's highlight film, he doesn't have a huge arm. It's not super mobile. But if you actually watch the movie of Derek Carr, if you watch the games, Derek Carr's pretty good. I mean, he's very comparable to Tony Romo, who I think was one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the last 20 years. Derek Carr's a good player. He's accurate. He's a leader. In big spots, he can be good. He can move a little. He's not super athletic, but he can move a little. Doesn't have a bad arm. He'll throw it over the top. He's a little hesitant. He's not a gunslinger. Sometimes he's a little Alex Smith. You wish he'd let her rip a little more. But the movie of Derek Carr is pretty good. The trailer put you to sleep. Drew Lock's just the opposite. And so it looks like Denver is going to move off him. And if they don't, it's telling you just by the stories that, my dad used to always say this, is that most of the decisions of your employment will be decided when you're not in the room. Lubricate, don't agitate. They're already raising hands in the front office of Denver, and there's more let's move on than keep him. And for this story to leak, they've already made their decision. He may play for another year, but barring just sensational improvement, they're moving on. All right, coming up next, it took me a while. So the Steph Currys, the Zions, the Lukas, offensively gifted players are having an absolute field day. Also, because of the increased three-point shooting, and you're noticing this the last couple of years, last 3 years, there's more blowouts. So if a team falls behind by 15, the only way to get back is threes, and if it's not your night shooting threes, the game gets ugly fast. And what happens when the game's 27 points early third quarter? What part of the game do you give up? Defense. Players also this year, it should be noted, and I get it, there's been a little animosity. Most of them didn't want to start the season as quickly as they did, and they didn't want an all-star weekend. So players have kind of decided we're going to pick our spots this year. And where are the players picking their spots? On the offensive end of the floor, because that's how you get paid, and that's how you get shoe deals. And if you worked in your work environment and you are exhausted and you have a little animosity toward your boss, you're going to take a couple shortcuts, but you're not going to take shortcuts on the stuff that gets you paid. So you're taking a lot of stars who are taking the night off. Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown don't face Steph. Both very high, especially Simmons, high-end defensive players. Players are more tired. They're taking the defensive end of the floor off. And we've said this. It is when you have all these superstar teams, the Nets went 19-4 when Kevin Durant didn't play. The Lakers have a winning record not only without AD, but without LeBron and AD. So if you face the Lakers right now, their defensive rating has gone through the floor since LeBron and AD left. It's not the same team. So this is not a shot at Steph Curry at all. It's not. But you have to add context. There's a reason the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have these wild shootouts. You want to know why? Because they don't have SEC defensive football players. When the Pac-12 and the Big 12 generally go face the SEC, they don't score as many points. So this year, we've already had almost 100 games where a player has scored 40 points. And we have 200 games to go. That is double 10 years ago. It shouldn't double. Like in economics, if your stock market doubles quickly, they call it a bubble, right? We have an NBA offensive bubble. It's going to burst next year. Guys will come back. They'll be more rested. Stars will take fewer games off, and the offensive numbers will pull back a little bit. So Steph is great. I love him, but this has been an atrocious year for NBA defense. All right, so this story came out yesterday. We did not talk about it. The Broncos have a new general manager. And according to Woody Page, who writes for the Denver Gazette, he's been a journalist